Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another Face Off. I am your host, Reverend D. Marie. Our Face Off program is brought to you by Face to Face Ministries in collaboration with the York Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as well as Restoration Community Christian Church. Our Face Off brings an up close and personal experience with individuals who have real lives, individuals who are trying their best to increase awareness, education, and be a source of empowerment for all of those that are experiencing mental illness, living with mental illness, hardships, trauma, and tragedy. It's time for us to take the mask off. And as you all know, this month is Women's History Month, but it is also National Athletic Training Month. And that focuses on the impact that athletic trainers have for the safety and well being of their clients and their patients. And I'm excited because tonight I have a special guest with us, none other than my soror sister friend, Mrs. Melanie Still. And so I'm going to invite her into this space. Hi, Mel.
Hello.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being with us here for a face off. I'm
Thank
so
you for
excited. Listen, I'm
having me.
getting y'all looking at me. I'm like starstruck. I love her. Okay, so Mel, we're gonna jump into it, right?
Okay.
You to introduce yourself to everyone here at Face Off in any way that you see fit.
Okay. Any way I see fit. Well, I feel like old school. My name is Mel. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm Melanie. I'm a lot of things.
Hmm. You want to let you
I
do it?
I am a mother. I am an educator. Um, I'm a personal trainer. Um, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm a business owner. Those are just a few things that, those are just, I think those are the main hats that I wear. Oh, I am an educator. I don't know if I said that.
Hmm. You
22
didn't say
year
that you were an author.
educator. Yes. And sorry, that's
Mhm.
because you know why? Because that's new.
Yes.
So yeah, I tend to forget that one. I am a published author.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's former gymnast, um, sports enthusiast, my kid's biggest cheerleader, former cheerleader. Um, yeah, those are some of the many hats.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
good. So, as you can see, you fit perfectly into the frame of why we are here in the month of March because, you are a rock star when it comes to representing women. And so I knew that you would be a great person as we are wrapping up Women's History Month because you've made a lot of history this month. And so yeah, look, she's being modest, guys. I'm going
I'm
to
like,
just, you wrote books. How many books did you write, Mel?
um, so in February I dropped 4 titles and then I dropped
Mhm.
my 5th title in the month of March.
Mhm.
Mm.
5 books in less than 60 days, ladies and gentlemen, and she is wondering why I keep pointing out that she is an author. 5 books.
Well,
Yes.
actually, I was sitting on 2 of them. Like, I need you to understand, it's not like I just, everything was from scratch now. No, I'd been sitting on, my I started with my fitness journal. I started with doing a fitness journal, and it was to do a fitness journal and planner, to just help my fit mommies out there,
Mhm.
to, just keep track of, their progress and document where they started so they can see, track their progress over time. I hemmed and hawed over it for a very, very long time. I would go back in Canva and I'd play with it, and I just left it alone. And then something was like, you know what? Let's start a cookbook.
Mhm.
If you know anything about me, I might be the poster child for ADHD because sometimes it's just stuff. It's like, yeah, uh, we'll do that. We can do that. The impulsive instinct in me. You know what? Let's do a low carb cookbook. And it was along the lines again with what I do within my business. What I do. One of the things I offer some of my clients are like 21-day challenges, which is kind of that. You know, um, for some the start of a fitness journey, start of their wellness journey, getting them on track of how to, navigate eating properly as well as, adding exercise into your day and just really prioritizing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, somebody was like, do you have any, somebody, one of the clients in my group were like, do you have any, recipes or whatever have you? And I was like, you know what? I do. I
Mm-hmm.
do. So, it kind of started there and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a low carb cookbook. And so that kind of just jumped to the forefront. And I was like, yep, got it together. That was my first release. I released it as a Kindle ebook first initially. And then I was like, no, I can actually,
Mm-hmm.
with this model, with this software, I can actually make an actual book. So
Mm-hmm.
I did that. And then I was just like, oh, I did that. Okay, let's upload. Let's go ahead and publish, the workout planner and journal. And it was around that time. Well, actually, probably a little bit before then, I had been approached to do an article for Black Wall Street, PA.
Mm-hmm.
And, just do the article in regards to Black women and their health.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I was just like, okay, you know what? I'll start with the first one, just fitness tips of it. Just how do you start your journey? How do you get on that road to wellness? And did my first article. They're like, okay, what you got for this month? I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this again. Um,
Mm-hmm.
again, I need you guys to understand. I never saw myself as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Never. I think my biggest hang up with it is, when you think of folks that are authors, those are the ones, those were the English majors, the journalism majors. They spent time writing all the time. And I'm like, no, I kind of did this on a whim. So for me, it was kind of hard to see myself as actually being an author.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, they were like, okay, we're time for the second article. Um, all right, you know what? Did the article on self-care. It was like, you know what? I needed to make this more than just 350 words. This needs to be a
Mm-hmm.
little more extensive. And from there, Too Cute for the Jumpsuit, A Queen's Guide to Self-Care was born. Um, Now, mind you, it took me a minute to come up with that name, but at the end of the day, just equipping women with just the tools and I guess the idea is that it's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to, say flag on the play. I need a timeout. I need some me time,
Mm-hmm.
whatever have you. So like, yeah, that came about. And when I was doing that, there's actually a section in the back of that where, I did leave a portion and I did give some pages for folks to be able to journal, your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts or whatever have you. And that section of the book was actually called Soul Scribbles. And from there, book number 4, Soul
Uh-huh.
Scribbles,
Soul
was born.
scribbles.
I was like, oh, let's just create. We're in this zone. Let's go ahead and do this free write journal for folks. And then from there it was like, but he needs something too.
Yes.
The men out there need something too. So Soul Scribbles for him was born, and there we have it.
So that's a lot, and we're going to touch on a little bit of all of that. But I want to start at the end. I want to start with actually the soul scribbles for men, because
Mhm.
so often when we talk about self-care and we think about, all of the language around self-care, it is typically focused on females, right? Like, and
Yes.
not to say that, that's a bad thing, because we want our sisters to take care of themselves. But the fact that you made this journal that is specifically for men, I think is very interesting. And I know you just said, yeah, he needs something too, but could you talk about that? Because have you had any guys engage you about this journal at this point?
Actually, I have.
Mhm.
Like when I did one, excuse my dog, she's a little upset, and I just had to message one of the kids to actually put her out so she'll stop barking in the background. Um, but when I did it, yes, I was talking to a coworker and was like, what about us? We need something. I was like, you know what? hold my glass, I got you.
Mhm.
And that was kind of where that came from, because when I thought about it, a little bit deeper, like, yeah, like, they need to be able to jot down those thoughts and stuff, and I know that's also a tool that we tend to try, well, we try to get some of our kids, our young folks, to do, instead of being so physically reactionary. Actually,
Mhm.
take that and write it down. Get
Yes.
it out, get it on some paper. So, um, yeah, that's
I love that. And I mean, I'm drawing attention to it because even in my work, I think, I see journaling often being a resource that is suggested for females. And so
mhm.
I think it is very nice that you have soul scribbles for men. And it's very important because it's definitely a necessity. So,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to go in reverse because
Okay.
we could talk about this Melanie because I know her and I love her. But I want to go in reverse a little bit and I want you to tell us about like the early stages of your athletic journey because before you were really having any of your hats, you were a student athlete.
Yes, I was. Ooh, wow.
Mhm.
To hear that question, and then I'm just like, "Ooh." Um, because that was a heavy time.
Mhm.
Like looking back on it, I don't think people understand how intense, the sport of gymnastics is. I think they do, but I don't think, like, to see it and to see what people are able to do or make their bodies do is one thing, but to really and truly understand the psychological piece, like, gymnastics is it's it's almost psychological warfare
Yes.
in some ways, because, I think I'm an overthinker by nature, but when you're asking certain things of yourself,
Mhm.
to do certain things and certain skills, like, yeah, you'll think of, well, if I do this and did it, like, you'll think every scenario possible.
Mhm.
Um, but one of the things that, through repetition, you keep doing things over and over and over and over and over again. Like your body, your muscle memory. And after a while, your body knows exactly what it's supposed to do. So at that point, it can kind of shut down some of that
Mhm.
extra talk that's going on in your head, that what if talk.
Yeah.
When I used to coach my girls, I would always say, you got to beat the beast. You got to ignore that negative talk and just stop thinking it. Like, you
Mhm.
want them to think about what they're doing, but don't think about what they're doing, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, so I think there's a lot of that goes on, but just, at the end of the day, we all know nobody's perfect, but
Mhm.
in the sport of gymnastics, like, you do really do strive for perfection.
Yeah.
And, um, you know, you take that part of you into all the other aspects of your life. And, you gotta it took me to maybe about 2 years ago to realize, like, it's okay to not be perfect.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mm.
we take progress over perfection any
That's
day.
right.
Like, it's okay to not be perfect.
Mhm.
And I'm talking, gosh, 30 plus years of living in that mindset of, you gotta work hard, and
Yes.
working hard, one thing, but you striving for that perfection, and there really is no perfection.
Yeah. And that's
So,
precisely why I brought it up because I do think that, we love to put our kids in sports and we should, right? But
mhm,
I don't think that people always understand the mental component of being a student athlete and how that translates into other aspects of your life, right? So we
mhm,
see in the news and we've heard the stories of like Simone Biles and very
mhm.
famous people stepping back to take care of their mental health. And then you have you and you've just affirmed just how that crosses over into other aspects. And so
It
we hear about the negative stories, right? Like it was so intense, I had to get out. But there's a lot of positive that comes.
there are some positive, and don't get me wrong, like, a lot, like, when Simone went through that during the last Olympics, um, it kinda triggered
Mhm.
some, past trauma of, being in the gym. I need people to know the twisties is really real. Like,
Wow.
that's not a made up thing. I've been up in the air like, where am I? Because you just totally, like, you
Yeah.
lose it and you just really have no idea, what you're doing, where you're going. I'm trying to tell my body we're just doing one twist and I'm going up in there and I'm twisting twice. And it's like,
Mhm.
you just you have the body awareness, but it feels like you just have no control.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things that can completely psych you out. Um, I can say gymnastics it definitely taught me discipline. It
Hmm.
definitely taught me about, I know being consistent, in my workouts. Like, there were some years that obviously some years where, you just, life is life and you just live in life.
Hmm.
But to be able to get myself back regimented again, and, just teaching me that discipline and that consistency piece. And I think that's kind of what has helped
Hmm.
me navigate my journey, to where I am now.
Okay. Well, thank you for telling us a little bit about the early journey. So I'm curious because I really honestly don't know this. I know her well, but I do not know. So tell us about, like, how was Still Fit birth? Like, where did that come from? Was it always in the making? Was it an epiphany? What? Tell us.
Um, I can't even remember. I don't remember the date exactly, but I remember asking my daughter to make me make me a logo.
Hmm.
And she took our picture that is actually my,
Hmm.
I guess, what's that, my background, or what is
Yeah.
that picture?
Your
Yeah.
silhouette. Yeah.
On,
Your
yeah,
logo.
on,
Yeah.
on Facebook, it's your cover photo. There it is.
Yeah.
So she actually took our cover photo, which happens to be a picture we took on the beach in Hampton eons ago. Um, yeah, so she took that and turned it into a silhouette. And initially, it was supposed to be a dumbbell in between us, and then it said "Still Fit" on it, "Still Fit," and then I added the athletics piece.
Hmm.
Um, and then from there, it's morphed a little bit, but yeah. So "Still Fit" was birthed about, pre-pandemic. I want to say that was it was the idea was there.
Okay.
And then just when the pandemic hit, kind of, that's where I really got on track to, what, I'm going to get my certification. Um, so I enrolled in one body design university. So you could either get one of two certifications, and I went with the NASM certification. And took me longer than I wanted it to, but you know what?
Hmm.
I crossed the finish line and I'm nationally certified. So there it
That's
is.
that's what's important. It's
Yes.
the journey and the destination.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it was this something that you thought about with younger Mel, or was it just the, you know what? Now
Um,
something different.
so younger Mel always wanted to own a gym.
Hmm.
That was always, if I had the money, the backing, I'd own a gymnastics facility and coach gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the gym has always been my happy place, even when you had those rocky times, because I stayed injured, so there were a lot of rocky times. Um, but the gym was just always just, I felt at peace in the gym. And, I just traded one gym for another, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I had an online trainer that I was following, and when we would frequent the Hampton area, she kind of ignited it, and I just kind of watched her and her business model, and was just like, yo, I could really do something like that. Like, I can
Mm-hmm.
work this out. And from there, it was just like, you know what? Again, that little impulsive, like, we're gonna do this, and we've done it. So here we are.
And you know what? And I love to hear you say that, because we always hear the saying that representation matters. And we typically only think about that when we think about younger kids seeing Black bodies in positions in the future. But
Mhm,
representation also matters to adults, right? Like, it is
mhm,
good to have people in your orbit that you can see doing things to motivate you. And so that's what I hear you saying, that, she kind of helped you along. And Mel will testify. I say this all the time. I'm following her lead, and I'm saying it on air so people hear me. But I've been saying that to her since she dropped her first book. I'm following her lead. So you're a motivation. Like, I need to say that to you. I'm gonna keep saying it to you. Because I don't think that it is digested fully yet for you. So I'm just gonna keep reminding you. Um, yeah, it's not, but you are. And representation matters, even for women, right? And so, Mel, you
Yes.
have Still Fit, but that is one of the list of titles and topics. Guys, I know y'all say I'm the Energizer Bunny, but if there is a human that has me beat, I believe it is Melanie Still, or either we are running the race collectively together. Because I thought I had a lot of stuff going on. Mel, like, yes. Anyway, so let's go back to school, right?
Yes.
Because tell us about the educator you.
The educator me. So I've been in education for over 20 years, 22, 23 years, somewhere around there. Um, 18 of those years have been up here in York, Pennsylvania. Um, I started out as a special, actually, when I initially got hired in Newport News Public Schools, I started off as a teaching assistant. And within a month and a half of being in that position, their numbers were a little bit much. They're like, hey, we need another teacher. What do you think?
Mhm.
You willing to go take some certification classes? Sure. And from there, teacher Melanie was born. Um, Jumped in special ed. I was immediately with emotionally disturbed kids. Excuse me, students with emotional disturbance. Um, Prior to me getting into education, I actually worked at a psych hospital as an activity therapist. So I was
Oh,
yeah, I was nationally
I
certified
did
there.
not know that.
Yeah, I was certified therapeutic recreation specialist is what my certification was called. And so, yeah, I played with my crazy folks. I brought them activities. We would do art, like essentially art therapy, which we called expressive therapy, relaxation therapy. Um, at that time, I became a certified lifeguard. So I would take the, patients that wanted to go to the pool, swimming and all that good stuff. So, yeah. So working with that population, I was like, oh, I feel right at
Mhm.
home. And from that's why when they were like, well, what population would you like to work with? And I was like, well, I can deal with the students with emotional disturbance. And, not many people sign up for that population, working with
Don't I
that
know?
population. Um, I always say you got to be a little ES yourself to deal with them. So therefore, that's probably why I feel right at home.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I taught special ed I taught high school initially. And then when we moved up here, we have me and little kids initially we were not rocking. Unless my little one was wearing a leotard and I could coach him in gymnastics. Like, yeah, me and little kids really just, we
Mhm.
weren't, we weren't that thing. But needless to say, they're like, we have an elementary position. Sure, I'll take it. And so I started we got here, I was a therapeutic emotional support teacher,
Mhm.
which the therapeutic emotional support classes tend to be a little bit more
Mhm.
kids tend to have higher amount of needs.
Yes.
Hence why they were more staffed. I did have a classroom psychologist as well as, I had some kids that did have extra people, and then I also had a teaching assistant.
Okay.
So yeah, got some abuse over the years.
Oh, I know. I
I've
know.
had my nose broken,
Hmm.
shifted my teeth, the whole thing. Been slapped, been had my hair pulled. Yes, I've chased kids, I've been bit, like you name it. It's been done.
Mhm.
Um, Educator Mel is also a uh, trainer for Crisis Prevention Institute. So I teach people how to de-escalate,
Mhm.
situations. Generally, when people hear CPI, if you ever hear it out in the educational world, and I think there was a teacher comedian that actually spoke about CPI. And I watched this video and I laughed wholeheartedly. And I'm like, yes, I do deliver this type of
Mhm.
this training, but It's a little bit more than that. Um, but yeah, when people hear CPI, they're like, "Oh, you're going to teach me how to take down kids." Like, yeah,
Right. That's
that's
exactly what they
not.
think.
We don't just take down kids. It's 90% verbal, 10% physical. But
Mhm.
if that's what you want to think, okay. And then I stayed in the classroom for a couple years, and then I actually had my principal at the time. She was just like, I see these leadership qualities, like I'd like to give you some more responsibilities and da 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 da. And next thing I knew, I was teacher on special assignment I was no longer in the classroom, I was actually helping
Mhm.
out in the office, helping with discipline and other building initiatives and all that stuff. And at that time, I was working on my principal cert. And once I got it, a superintendent came to me, was like, "You get it, you'll be an AP." All right, cool. Got it, did what I needed to do, and kind of just jumped right in. I was an assistant principal maybe a couple years, and then I actually left the building that I was at, opened a new K-8 within our district,
Mhm.
and then the following year, I returned back to the building I had been at for years as the building principal. Did that for a couple years. Actually, I did that for 3 years, and then I went because, special ed is my background, went to the Office of Special Ed as a supervisor for the next 4 years. Um, Last year, I was actually our district cyber principal, the
Mhm.
um, to which I actually started off this school year in that position, but a position became open, a brand new position, supervisor of social emotional learning,
Mhm.
which literally is everything that's in my wheelhouse. Like
Yes.
that is just it's
Yes.
me. Um,
Mhm.
Applied for it, got it, and so that's actually my title, although right now I am covering one of our K-8 buildings for the remainder of the year as principal, which just so happens to be the building I was formerly a principal at. So it's kind of like I went back home.
It's a
Uh,
full circle moment.
yeah,
Yes. It's a full
full of
circle moment.
anxiety. That's a whole nother
Oh,
conversation
we're
topic.
gonna get there. It's not a whole nother conversation. It's a perfect segue.
Oh,
No,
girl,
we're
we
not
need
gonna
some
segue
look,
yet. We're not
I
gonna
think
segue
we need
yet.
some drinks for that one. Like it's
Maybe
a lot.
after that, we're gonna need some
Yeah, yeah.
drinks.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
But let me say this. I love that you laid out your full resume because there's something that you haven't really mentioned. So you did all of this while being a mother of how many children?
3.
Yeah.
My 3
And
babies,
wait a
yes.
minute. And your three kids do absolutely nothing, right?
I wish.
That's my point.
Um, so, like, now it's a cakewalk because
Mhm.
technically speaking, we just got 1 that we have to, but there was a moment in time, like, I had 3 student athletes.
Yeah.
And, you know, for the longest time, at one point, my daughter was in gymnastics and then she did all-star cheerleading, so those weekends, those were like mommy daughter events.
Mhm.
Now don't get me wrong, daddy did go to gymnastics meets. Generally would only go to like the state meet. Because at that time we would generally that's when we bring like all the kids would have to come, like everybody at the meet now. So, just making them sit through one meet because it is a lot for
Yeah.
little people. And both boys, they were kind of on the little side at that time. Um, but the boys, yeah, that's where it got tricky. Um, so between my oldest and youngest, there's an 8-year gap.
Mm.
And then between the boys, there's a 3-year gap. But, of course, we did the proverbial, they all started with T ball.
Mhm.
One excelled a little bit more. Nas probably could have stuck with baseball. Najee, it was too slow. Like,
Mhm.
he is his mother's child. Baseball was just, he needs a constant motion. Um, Both of them started football at a young age. Crazy thing is, Nas's first word, my middle child's first word, was actually touchdown.
Wow.
Yeah, he was sitting on the couch next to me. We were watching a Giants game, of course, watching football. I was like, "Yes, touchdown!" And he turns to me, he throws his little arms up and goes, "Touchdown!" I'm
That's so sad.
like, "That's right, baby!" And go figure. Um, you know, he blossomed into a very talented quarterback.
Mhm.
Um, he's an Eagles fan. I won't hold that against him.
Mhm.
But, both he and my youngest, played football, obviously. They both played rec basketball. At one point, they were both playing AAU basketball. Now, that's where it got really janky because there'd be moments in time. Sometimes by the grace of God, we would be in the same facility.
Mhm.
And this happened twice where they just happened to be on diagonal courts at the same time. And I just stood, and
In the middle.
those that know me know that I am the videographer, and I
Mhm.
I I film content. I film my kids' games, and I do highlight reels for them and everything. And so yeah, literally I was like in between the courts and like, let me record this, let me record that. And yeah, have
Okay.
to those years sometimes, like, yeah, weekends were far and few between. Free weekends were far and few between. Like, it was constant motion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like.
I just wanted to take a moment to lift that up because it's not easy to just be a professional in general. It's not easy to be a parent in
Mhm.
general, and those are just two of the things that you're juggling with kids that have busy lives just like you. So, and I think it's important for women to hear these stories as we're in Women's Empowerment Month, because sometimes we feel like we can't do it all. And a lot of women have been reared in spaces where they've had to sacrifice one over the other. You can't be a
Mhm.
professional and be a mother. You can't have it all, right? Like that frame of thought does still exist. And a lot
Yeah. Stop it.
you want some
No, it took me a minute to realize that I don't have to do it all.
Mhm.
Um, but the crazy thing is, this is where I dig in my bag a little bit. Of course, she came to hide for underneath me. I asked somebody to feed her. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
You fine.
I'm in the middle of this. But where was I going with this? They just totally took me
You
out of
had
my train of
sometimes you're
thought.
in your bag.
Yeah, so there's sometimes I'm in my bag, because one of the things for me, like, my mom made it a point, and granted, I'm an only child,
Mhm.
but my mother made it a point to be at everything I did,
Mhm. Okay.
everything I did. And as a teacher, I sit back and I've seen, as an teacher, administrator, educator, whatever you want, and I've been at school events, and you look up in the crowd and you don't see the numbers, and you see
Mhm.
the number of kids on that court or the number of kids on that field and on that sideline and on that bench, but it doesn't correspond to the amount of people you see in the stands. Do you get what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Absolutely.
So, I don't get me wrong, I'm a daddy's girl, but daddy didn't always make it to all the events.
Mhm.
And daddy would say he was going to make it to the events, but he didn't always make it to the events.
Mhm.
So I knew what it was like to be looking at that door.
Yeah.
Like, I knew my mom was there, like,
Yeah.
because your mom's a constant.
Mhm.
Well, at least my mom was a constant for me. So, I knew she was going to be there, but you told me you were going to be there. So
Yeah.
I'm looking, and I've seen kids do that, like,
Mhm.
at games and at other school events. So I never wanted my kids to feel that way, that they weren't ever supported. So, for me to miss something, it had to be epic.
Yeah.
It was either I was out of town, or, you know, I was at another kid event.
Mhm.
Like, I just
Right.
I couldn't split myself to be in both kids' spaces.
Mhm.
But so that, I think that's another driving force of why, oh no, I'm going to be there. Mommy's going to be there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Again, I just wanted to give space for that. So I want to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Just like let me brace myself. No, I just want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about where do you find inspiration, Mel? Like you've shared a lot about what you're doing. Where's the inspiration coming from? What's keeping you going?
Um, I don't know. It fluctuates, to be
Mhm.
honest. It does fluctuate. Sometimes it's the company you keep.
Mhm.
Um, I'm lucky that I share sisters that, you know what I mean, when it's that moment in time, like, yo, I know you
Mhm.
got stuff you need to work on. I got stuff I got to work on. Let's sit down. We could still be in the same space, but let's be productive and
Yeah.
and having somebody push you to like, no, this is a working day. Like you got this. Like you need to finish whatever task it is that you've been starting on. And so having people hold you accountable for that um is helpful. Is
Mhm.
very, very helpful. And I mean, I've got sorors, you included, I hold that space with. I even have I call her a friend. She's definitely a friend. Or you can almost call her a mentor as well. Um,
Mhm.
who kind of pushed me to do the books, initially. And, it's crazy because I remember pulling her out of the classroom to be like, no, I need you and your skill set down here in
Mhm.
the office. And, and I thank her for, she's another one that, you should do this, you should do that. And just like, again, just having people push.
Yeah.
I want to shout out my bestie Kelly down in Hampton because starting this whole still fit kind of was like, while we were watching that model, like, yo, you could really do this. Like this,
Mhm.
that just, you can do this. And hearing, your bestie, like, yo, this is you. You got
Yeah.
it. Do it. And, I did it. So,
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Mel, there was a point in life where things are not great. You
mhm.
suffered a loss.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to ask you to delve into that, but I do want you, as much as you can, um, how does grief impact this process of developing and giving birth and being creative and just functioning?
Um, and it's crazy, like, because there's a picture of him like diagonally across from me right now. So like I like looked up and was like, wow, hey,
Mhm.
okay. Um, so it'll be 4 years in May that I lost my dad. And that time period, and I want to say it was from Christmas Day 2019 to to the day that he transitioned.
Mhm.
Um, just literally watching somebody just kind of deteriorate,
Mhm.
and there's really nothing you can do about it
Mhm.
except just make sure they're comfortable, make sure they're happy, whatever have you. um yeah, so it started that Christmas day, and I'll never forget. Of course, we started Christmas morning out with Ma Still, as we would always do when we would get down there. Started our Christmas day with her, popped over to my pops, exchanged gifts, did that, da da da, made our way to my bestie's house to exchange gifts with the rest of the family. Um, and then my uncle called and was just like, "Hey, your dad is kind of in a bad way. He really needs to go to the ER."
Mhm.
So that's kind of how Christmas turned out that day, that year. Um, I'm in the emergency room with him, and he's like, "I ruined Christmas," and I'm like, You know what, sir? Be quiet. Like,
Mhm.
we're good. Don't worry about it. We're trying to make sure you're good."
Right.
And it was from pretty much Christmas Day on that it just kind of, he progressively got worse. Um, in January, literally like 3 weeks later, he had to undergo surgery to remove pretty much his colon. And from there, another level of his independence was stripped from him. And to watch that, you know, I mean, he was 70 something years old at that point, 78, 79, 70, 78, 78. And, trying to continue to build somebody up, but who's like, I can't do this, I can't do that. That
Mhm.
it like, it's gonna be okay. And he's just kind of like looking at me and I'm like, eh. Um, And in the background, I was also going through some other stuff on top of, dealing with the deterioration of his health.
Yeah.
As much as the pandemic was a terrible, terrible thing,
Mhm.
it was it was probably the best thing that did happen
Mhm.
because I was able to be down there, could work remotely,
Yeah.
as everybody that was still going, still working was able to do. So I was able to be there and be in that space with him and spend time with him and pretty much any whim that he had, anything he wanted, like, I got you. And yeah, it was hard. I don't think I really understood what hospice was
Mm.
until, us having to go through this. And this is my thought process.
Mhm.
Um, I felt like it was inhumane because you're not feeding them. You just want them to be comfortable, but it's no longer like you just kind of like let them be. And
Yeah.
even now, it still doesn't sit well.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it doesn't. But um, I d- May 19th, I lost my best friend. I
Mm.
lost him, and he was somebody who had the biggest heart. We give you the shirt off his back. He was always somebody that was always taking care of everybody else,
Yeah.
and he taught me a lot of stuff, over the years. Um, there's so many good memories, but it just even now
Mhm.
it still hurts.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it was from him that I believe my dad always told me, "You always got to have a side hustle."
Mhm.
He had a hustling spirit, um, but just always you always got to have a side hustle. So through this time, I was like, "Yo, I really, you know, I did a lot of soul searching." After him passing, started therapy,
Mhm.
um, which I'm still in. I'm sorry.
You do not have to apologize at all.
Um, but you know, I'm better. I am
Mhm.
better now.
Mhm.
Um, it's been a minute since I've done something like this.
Mhm.
Having a breakdown.
You're not having a breakdown. The fact that you're actually telling your story is growth. Those that know you, like, this is major. This is major. So you do not have to apologize at all.
Whew.
Not at
Okay,
all.
let's get it together. Whew. I don't like doing stuff like
Yeah, I know.
that. It's
You got
okay for me to tell everybody else it's okay to do that, but
you are helping people. I need you to understand that there are comments on the screen. People are saying you are helping me. So even in this, you are
whew,
again, you're being a blessing to somebody.
whew. Um, I think the creative was always there. My mom's very creative.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's one of the ways I think I probably expressed myself.
Mhm.
Um, I cope with moments like this with movement,
Mhm.
but I think I give myself a peace of mind. Well, I give myself a peace of mind with movement as well, but sometimes just that creativity of just being able to just do stuff. Be it the books or um crafting projects or something like
Mhm.
that. Like, yeah. So,
Okay.
mm,
So again, thank you.
mhm.
Thank you. I did not know where you were going, but God knows I'm happy that you went there. And
Oh, Aunt Wanda.
You're definitely blessing people, Mel. Like in even in this moment, like this is a liberating moment for you, and it is definitely helping somebody else. So thank you so much. Um, for you, for everyone that's watching, none of this is ever scripted, and the whole purpose of this space is to give people an opportunity to tell their truth in their own voices. And so thank you for being on this journey with us and being in this space and holding Melanie in this moment of vulnerability. And to everybody that is sending her love, we appreciate it. We really, really do, because this is life. Like this is someone's real life, and grief it's lasting. It is love that has no place to go actively in the moment. And so thank you for being in this space with us. So Mel, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. And we're almost at the end of the road. I do want to ask you to kind of bring it all into still fit, because we've talked about high level your life, your dad, your family. I want people to know your vision behind Still Fit Athletics. I want them to know where they can find you. I want them to know how they can support this movement that you've created. So let's talk about your brand.
So, ugh, get it together. Um, now my contacts are acting up. So, okay. So the vision of Still Fit was essentially listen to the name, Still
Mhm,
Fit.
mhm,
And if you ever go to my website, um, stillfitathletics.fitbud with two D's.com,
mhm,
um, you'll see the question of, are you still fit?
mhm,
And I respond, the response is you can be.
mhm.
Because I think we as adults, especially we as women, sometimes don't think, we can still do what we can. Our bodies have always been built to do amazing things. And it goes back to kind of that thing I was talking about with gymnastics. Your body, it's like riding a bike. I hate using that analogy, but it really is like riding
Works.
a bike.
Yeah.
Your body knows what to do. It's
Mhm,
getting past this point.
mhm.
Oh, I can't do a push-up, and I'm sorry, like negative self-talk does not help.
Right.
Um, that and again, coming from somebody like I call them staff meetings, internal staff meetings, and yeah, my staff meetings sometimes, my internal staff meetings, drag them out. Like we're in here battling out. Like let me tell you something. Like yeah, it goes
Did you
left.
say internal staff meetings?
Yes, the internal staff meetings are real. But we all have our internal staff meetings, and
Mhm.
sometimes we listen to the BS that our internal selves are telling.
Yeah.
Man, you can't do that. You're not gonna get up at 5 in the morning. You're not gonna, we
Yeah.
talk ourselves out of so many opportunities. And even when we know it's something we need to do for our wellness, our health, our peace of mind.
Mm.
Um, it's funny, I say peace of mind. I actually asked a little girl today, I was like, do you know what protecting your peace is? I was like, has your mom ever, I'm saying because I'm trying to debrief, like have a conversation with this little girl. She's saying this little boy's bothering her and did it like, but what are you doing? You
Right.
got to protect your peace. You don't have to have a response for everything. And but that going back to again our internal staff meetings that we talk ourselves out of stuff
Mhm.
we need to do for ourselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes being we think we're worthy enough to have time. We've been taught so much that when we relax, from our
Mhm.
mind, well, I know from my mindset, relaxation was kind of seen as a form of laziness at one
Yes.
point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you need to be always on the go
Doing
and
something.
trying
Yeah.
to temper myself, to be in a space to it's okay to slow down.
Mhm.
Um, the last knee surgery I had last February. Woo! Let me
Mhm.
tell you something. And I want to say this is probably where I was really working through some of, the still fit stuff at this point because I had to sit it down.
Yeah.
And everybody that knows me knows just because my last name is Still, anything but. Like,
Right.
I'm always in constant motion,
Yeah.
and to sit down for a whole month.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong now, y'all. Again, I was working out. Like,
She
let's just
was.
be real.
I
I
saw the
was working
video. She
on
was
crutches, but I was
on
getting those
crutches.
workouts in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but to it trust me, they were nothing at the level that I normally push myself to, but to be at home and to be alone with my own thoughts.
Mm.
Um, you know, I had issue I had to let myself know it was okay to totally, unplug from work.
Yeah.
It was okay that I was only working out on the weekends. Like,
Mhm.
it was a lot to give myself grace and let
Mhm.
myself know that it was okay. I mean, it was a daily battle.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Like, even now on rest days are hard. hard. Like, trying to you need to give yourself, your body, that moment to heal. But sometimes it's just like, no, I need to get in. And that's, again,
Mhm.
that's like I said, that's a whole nother session for another time. Um, but yeah, so Still Fit was coming about to let folks know that, you can still do these things. You can still do great things.
Mhm.
You need to take care of yourself. You need to prioritize your wellness. And I'm not just talking about, eating right. Like, are you going to those well checks? Are you
Yeah.
checking on you and making sure you're good? Um, and another story of why I do and go so hard the way I do. My parents, I love them, Bob and Karen. I love y'all to death, but they stacked the deck against me.
Yeah.
Um, my dad, two-time prostate cancer survivor.
Mhm.
My mom, a colon cancer and multiple myeloma survivor.
Oh
Like, so
wow.
she had two different versions. And, on top of, she's got COPD, he had diabetes, other heart issues. So for me, it was, I don't
Yeah.
like meds anyway. So I'm
Mhm.
not going to be chained to having to take this and that and that and this. And like, so I stopped eating meat back in 2017,
Mhm.
and really made a conscious effort to, watch what I consume and watch, you know, making sure that I'm getting my movement in on a daily basis and everything. So, from that standpoint, that's kind of, you know,
Okay.
I need to get it out to the masses. I'm trying to make it. I need everybody to understand that they're still fit.
Mhm.
So I started doing, I guess it was last school year. Yeah, because it was one of those things that I started at the beginning of the last school year. So the 22-23 school year, I started my first 21-day challenge group.
Mhm.
And, like, hey, we got this program. I give you your meals, I give you your workouts, I give you daily support and encouragement.
Mhm.
And, the people were like, okay, did it. And, people were getting results. And,
Mhm.
and I think there might be a couple people that have been in this group
Yeah.
on the call. But if you do, if you trust the process and follow the plan, you'll get the results.
Yeah.
Um, but also teaching throughout each, with each group, that letting folks know, give yourself grace. You didn't work out today. Guess what? You got tomorrow. Yeah, you might have ate bad for that one meal, but guess what? You can reset tomorrow. And just allowing, letting women know it's so, again, we're not looking for that perfection piece.
Mhm.
It's not about perfection. It's about making progress. It's about being intentional in your choices, in the way you're moving, and prioritizing you. Um, so yeah, that's essentially Still Fit athletics.
Okay. Well, thank you. So again, I want you to tell me slower your website.
So I have two websites.
Whatever you want him to go to.
Well, The FitBud website, so it's stillfitathletics.fitbud with two D's, so FITBUDD.com. Yeah, so that is my actual website. You can see the different plans up there. You can see some customer reviews. And then some of, like, my social media is also up there. Still Fit Athletics is on Facebook, is
Mm-hmm.
the page on my business page on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My handle is unapologetically underscore still fit. Um, I'm also on TikTok, but that doesn't have my business name, but that is pretty much, I think, pretty much all of my TikTok, and that's at Jersey Cutie. That is all fitness videos at this point. Yeah. I want to
Okay.
say my fitness videos have taken completely over that.
Yes. So let me say this as we prepare to get to the end, Mel. So, two things. I always end with two questions. One would be for you to have an opportunity to, speak to those that may be watching and whatever you want to say from your own context. And then lastly would be, do you have a question that you would like to ask me?
Um, okay. I froze. Say that all again.
So just closing out for someone that may be watching,
Yeah.
what would you like to say encouraging to them? And then the second part would be, do you have a question that
Um,
you would like to ask me?
Day one or one day.
Mm, that's good.
We put off everything. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it then. I'm gonna do it whenever. Day one or one day. Which one would you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna start on your journey tomorrow, or you gonna wait down the road for that one day? Because
Mm-hmm.
the stars are never gonna be completely aligned for you. I'm just gonna be real. Life be lifing.
Life is
And so, if you're really about that life and you're really ready to prioritize yourself,
mm-hmm.
let tomorrow be day one. Let
I love
tomorrow
that.
be day one. And with that being said, my next challenge, my April challenge, does start on Monday.
Look at that. How appropriate. April the 1st will
Mhm.
be her next 21-day fitness challenge. And please make sure you go out to all of the Instagrams, Facebook, all of the places and connect and follow. And I will say this as someone who is connected on most of her social media platforms. Mel is not just doing it privately, she is publicizing. Like, you see her in the gym. Like, there's this video with you doing these you doing the what do you call it, the handstand, but you moving around and you lift,
Mhm.
like, you one handed on a handstand. I
Oh,
was
my
showing
shoulder taps.
it
My shoulder.
yesterday. Girl, I was showing it to my clients yesterday. I was like, listen, this is my soror and she's going hard. Like, not a handstand, but she's on a handstand and then taking one hand off the ground. Like, it's it's intense, guys. So I'm saying it's intense, but it's good. So please make sure you go and you connect with her. Mel, I put you in the hot seat.
You
Is there a
did.
question that you would like to ask me? It's only fair that we reverse roles here at the end.
Oh,
I'm afraid. I always say I'm afraid, guys, but I'm really afraid. I'm really, really afraid.
are you ready to show up for you?
Ooh, girl, such a big oh. Is that a question or a statement? I'm gonna take it as a statement, so I don't have to answer. Um, no, that is a great question. Yeah, I am. I feel like I show up for everybody. Um,
Mhm.
and I kind of back burner a lot of my heart's desires. So yeah, I will say that I have people like yourself, and not even a handful, a couple of other people who have cemented themselves to the goal of forcing me to give birth to all of the things that are like lying dormant while I'm investing in other things. So yeah, I am.
Mhm.
I absolutely am. So
Okay.
Again, thank you so much for joining us, Mel. From all of us here at Face to Face, I want to thank you for taking time to share this space. For those who are watching, please know if you are brave enough, everything that you're experiencing can be utilized to help you grow. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself to be seasoned, middle age, or just starting off or in your youth. It's never too late to take your mask off and to tell your truth. Thank you so much for joining me here at Face to Face Ministries for another Face Off. Thank you so much, Melanie Still from Still Fit Athletics, my soror sister friend, for being here. You have really taken us on a journey, and I appreciate all that you shared. And for all of you that are watching, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you here next month in April. I don't know who we're going to be sitting down with, but it is guaranteed to be good because it always is. Have a great night. See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.